What was your welcome to college moment? Story 1. I had just moved into my first apartment the summer before my freshman year. Being a budget-conscious college student, the most affordable option was sharing a room with two other girls. Private time was a luxury, especially at night, but occasionally my roommates would go out, and have the apartment to myself with my significant other. And by hang out, I mean we'd take advantage of the opportunity for some quiet time together. On one specific evening, we were in a bit of a hurry, not knowing how long my roommates would be out, and it completely slipped my mind to do the usual close the windows, lock the door routine. Let's just say a rather enthusiastic and spirited moment unfolded. Just as I reached a peak of satisfaction, I heard my neighbors on both sides. I had one window on each side of my bedroom windows, both apartments occupied by a few college guys, start to cheer and clap. For a solid minute, I lay there completely still, like a deer caught in headlights, as they applauded my grand final. My significant other thought it was the most hilarious thing that had ever happened, and I just wanted to disappear. Story 2. It was my first day of school, and the evening light was just starting to fade. My new acquaintances, really just homemates at this point, were returning from a freshman orientation gathering. As we were walking along, a man suddenly emerged from the bushes, draped only in a yellow sheet. He exclaimed, "My transformation is complete. I am a beautiful butterfly." He then dramatically dropped the sheet, revealing that he was completely unclothed underneath, and ran off into the twilight. We were all completely taken aback. It was a surreal and unexpected introduction to college life. That moment, witnessing this unusual display, definitely marked the beginning of my college experience in a way I hadn't anticipated. Story 3. I walked into my first class. I sat down. It was silent. No one was talking. Someone in the corner was playing music, but I could only hear it because of the dead silence in the room. No cliques full of girls screaming at each other about last night's party. No packs of pretty boys calling each other bro. No one cared about each other. I almost started sobbing with relief. Story 4. In college, I lived in a dorm as a freshman, but moved off campus into an apartment the next year. One night, after getting completely intoxicated and blacking out, I walked back to my old dorm room, I assume, thinking that was where I still lived, climbed up onto the top bunk of a bunk bed, and went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, trying to figure out what happened and why I wasn't in my own bed, looked around and saw a guy sitting at his computer. "Where am I?" I asked. He just turned and looked at me with a big smile on his face and said, "College, man. College." Story 5. Mine happened very quickly. It was the third day of orientation, and I got up early that morning. I decided, since I was up, I might as well go do something, and I left my dorm and wandered over to the nearby shopping street. I went to a Starbucks there and bought a cup of coffee. Then I walked back to my dorm and sat down in one of the easy chairs in the common room, just sipping my coffee and waiting for everybody to get up. I don't know why, but this all struck me as really awesome. I guess until then, I'd been used to having my life controlled by other things, my parents, school, etc. in a weird way. This was the first action I'd ever made completely on my own, and it was amazing. Still, one of the happiest moments I can remember. Story 6. Probably the night we discovered that a slippery substance plus synthetic institutional carpet plus adhesive tape equals an improvised indoor slide. A great deal of fun was enjoyed by everyone, and a few pairs of socks met their demise in the process. Even more memorable was the campus security officer who, after finding us, suggested we wait until he finished his shift around 2 a.m. Turns out he played the tuba in the university band and had a large supply of valve oil. We had a particularly long hallway in the basement with a linoleum floor, and a significant amount of sliding and gliding took place. We even had the presence of mind to place the caution signs afterward. Another memorable moment was rolling down the hallway to my dorm room because I was unsteady on my feet. I ended up sleeping in a curl-up position under my elevated bed because I couldn't manage to climb into it. Story 7. During my first weekend living in the dorms, a lot of us went out and had a bit too much to drink. Many people, especially those new to it, weren't used to alcohol and found themselves a little overwhelmed. So, as the night went on, everyone started returning to the dorms, trying their best to look composed as they walked through the lobby. One individual, who was dressed in a rather short skirt, unfortunately experienced a significant, unexpected bodily event. It was quite noticeable, and there was a trail left behind as they made their way through the lobby. They then entered the elevator, and the situation continued there as well. The elevator became quite messy. The trail led all the way back to their room. I never saw that person again, and I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to take a break from college shortly after. Story 8. It was a Saturday night, and I'd just been in my room for the most part, but around 2 a.m., one of my friends called me up, and we decided to go hang out in another building. I go downstairs and I see a body covered with a blanket on the floor of the lobby. Right in front of the security desk, security guards need to check our ID before letting us into the dorms. There was also some kind of liquid mush staining the carpet near him. I'm a little freaked out at this point, thinking that someone had died and they had just covered the body. Nope, turns out the kid had stumbled into the lobby after a night of heavy drinking, then fell over and threw up while trying to give the guard his ID card. This had literally happened in the last 5 minutes, so the guard just threw a blanket over the kid while waiting for help. Story 9. All my Chemistry 101 exam scores were between 60% and 80%. The first time it happened, I was surprised. The second time, I really focused and studied hard for the third exam, and I barely scored above 80%. I was convinced I would have to retake the course. However, I ended up passing the class with a solid A. It feels good. Story 10. I'll start with my first college experience, which turned into a "I'm gonna like it here" moment. At my school orientation, we stayed overnight in one of the on-campus dorms. The rooms were stifling, so I decided to head down to the lounge, meet some people, and skip sleep altogether. I found a group, socialized, shared stories, and all that. By the middle of the night, we were playing Never Have I Ever. Me and the other guys were joking around, saying some silly things just for laughs, but all of the girls in the group had actually done those things. If there was a picture of my face that night, it would have been similar to a child on Christmas morning. Story 11. This wasn't my welcome to college moment, but it was a memorable one. One Saturday morning, my best friend and I decided to start our day with some Red Bull vodkas straight out of bed. Then, we had the bright idea to spend our paychecks at the adult novelty store in town. We got a friend to drive us, and we kept the drinks flowing. By the time we arrived, we were feeling quite merry, and my friend found a novelty item, an inflatable figure that could be embraced. He bought it and was eager to inflate it, so he did it right there in the car. He then put it on his back and walked around with it clinging to him. It was a sight. Afterwards, we stopped at the beverage store and grabbed a large quantity of drinks, then headed back to the dorm. I was pretty far gone by this point. The car pulled into the parking lot, and I stumbled out. My friend and his new companion exited behind me with the drinks. The first people we encountered were a prospective student and her parents, who were checking out the residence. As I walked past, I tried to compose myself and offered them a smile. As my friend walked by the parents with the inflatable item strapped to him and carrying a case of beverages, he smiled and said, "Your daughter is going to have an interesting time here. Welcome to college." Story 12. I'm attending college in a foreign country, American in Hong Kong. My flight arrived around 9:30 p.m., and by 11 p.m., I was settled in. I met some of the upperclassmen, and they told me, "Get ready, you've got 15 minutes." Less than an hour later, we were all enjoying beverages in social venues and dancing in lively environments with people whose names I didn't quite catch. The more time I spend here, the more I find myself wishing for a different approach to the legal drinking age in the U.S. Story 13. During my first semester at university, I was living on campus in a suite-style dorm. One of my studentmates decided she preferred off-campus living and wanted to move out of university housing. How did she manage to get out of her housing agreement with the university? She got married to someone she had known for a very short time. Apparently, there was a clause in the contract that considered marriage a valid reason for early termination. Story 14. My parents were helping me move into my dorm during the week before classes began. The dorm was a co-ed freshman residence, 8 stories tall, situated in a neighborhood primarily populated by students. The house directly across the street from the front of the dorm was occupied by 5 young men. As we were bringing my belongings to my room, the 5 gentlemen across the street displayed a banner they had made from an old white bedsheet. They unfolded it and hung it from the roof of their front porch. It read, "Parents, thank you for your daughters." That's when I realized I was officially a college student. Story 15. My mother insisted that we leave at 5:25 a.m. to avoid traffic near my campus. We arrived on campus at 7:45 a.m., with dorm move-in starting at 9:00 a.m. After carrying our initial belongings to the dorm room door until it was unlocked, a woman who looked like Veronica Corningstone approached me and asked if I was an incoming freshman willing to be interviewed. "Definitely," I replied. The interview was broadcast throughout the day on the local news, and people recognized me for the first week or so, especially the faculty and resident advisors living in my dorm. I was briefly a bit of a local celebrity. Thanks, Mom. Story 16. I was playing basketball for a Division I school, and I came from a small high school. At 6'4", I was usually one of the tallest players on the court in high school. Sometimes when we played smaller teams, I was taller than their center, even though I played point guard. Our first open practice was in August. I was shorter than everyone else on the team except for 2 guys. The first time I tried to score, it felt like the sky itself came down and knocked the ball right back at my face. I had a feeling my potential at that level might be somewhat restricted at that point. Story 17. When I started college, we had a camping trip as an introductory activity. None of the 150 of us knew each other, including myself. The weather from the very first day was terrible. So bad, in fact, that by the end of the second day, only 5 of the 150 tents were still standing. But it was a fantastic experience. It was all about helping and being helped. We suddenly became a close-knit group because of our shared challenge, the weather. We helped each other by holding down tents, finding lost belongings, and sharing drinks. 2 years later, all 150 of us are still like a big family. Story 18. I guess it was when I just left midday to hop on a train and go an hour away to another city for a barbecue. I mean, I had done that sort of thing before in high school. But I didn't have to tell anyone I was leaving. I just walked to the station and was gone for the day. Complete 100% freedom. Story 19. My first week of freshman year, I went to my first college house party. My friends and I turned the corner and saw hundreds of people gathered outside this enormous house. People on the roof, the lawn, hanging out of windows, the whole scene. A helicopter was circling overhead with its spotlight moving around, and Party Like a Rock Star was blasting so loudly that I'm sure the people in the helicopter could hear it. Wow. College. Story 20. During my first week of college, my friend and I used our fake IDs to go to a bar downtown in Cincinnati. We got very intoxicated on a Thursday night. We met some people at the club. We took them back to my friend's dorm. On the way to the dorm, we discovered his car had a flat tire. We didn't realize it until we were on campus. Somehow, we called the campus police because, well, we were inebriated and not thinking clearly. The police officer changed our flat tire for us, even though we were clearly under the influence. The officer allowed us to drive after knowing our condition, and my friend and I had a memorable night. Welcome to college.
That's a wrap for this video. Make sure to leave your relatable story down in the comments. I would love to make a video on them. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.